good. All right. Let's get back to the meeting. Next up is sunshine reports. Do we have any sunshine reports? Beth. Keep turning around.
Yes, I talked to Howard today, and he is making good progress. Not quite ready to come out and socialize and wander around yet, but he's making good progress, and he's still, anytime you have a chance to give him a call, send him an email, he even does text messages. Yeah, he would love to hear from you anyway, and he really does enjoy visitors, so keep that in mind, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Anybody else? Any of the sunshine reports? All right, then we'll move on. All right, Fair Oaks Sun Court.
Okay, this is
Buzz.
I'm a little late, sorry.
All right, hang on a minute. We're going to back up.
Kirsten, our attorney, who, Kirsten who left us, the other young attorney we have. Well, she's not there anymore. She had some photos of her child, and Alice probably can tell more than I know. Did you see him, Alice? No. Anyway, her little baby looks so cute, and she is so happy and proud.
Thanks, Buzz. All right, Marlo, please.
Okay, last court announcement. Aren't you excited about that? There's two things that we need. We need you to sell tickets, and Fred's going to talk to you more about that. Lots of tickets need to get sold.
I still have about 50 tickets out of the 300 that were printed that have not yet been handed out to anybody for sale. And this is the last meeting before on the court. We have 12 tickets that were sold on Eventbrite, so if we sell every single ticket that's out there for sale, which I don't think we're going to do, plus the 12, that's only 262. We can fit 300 people into that place easily. So you can feel free to call me anytime, and I'll be happy to bring you tickets if you find somebody that's interested in attending. This is a really great event, those of you that have been there before. It's also a time I've only collected money for about maybe 120 of the tickets, just a guess. So a lot of you have tickets you haven't paid for. Yeah. I will be contacting you. Next weekend I'm going on the RYE trip with the RYE inbound kids to San Francisco, so I won't be around. But I will be, when I return from San Francisco, I will be contacting all the people that owe me money. We don't mind if you hang on to tickets till the last minute to try and sell them, because, yes. Yes, we will. If we have not hit 300, we decided to cap it at 300 this year. We had a total of about 306 last year, and it was plenty crowded. So we decided to cap it at 300. So if somebody comes up and probably one person, and we're at 300, we let it in. But, we're going to cut it off there.
Okay, so you got that part. We need to sell tickets. If Fred's gone and you can't get tickets from him, I took 20 tickets, so you can call me. Oh, and then Maggie has tickets at work. So the second thing is, if you're a volunteer for this event or you've already done something for this event, can you please stand up? Jeannie Maloney. Shelley now.
You're the first one. You're the first one.
Okay, so everybody else, there's a piece of paper on the table that's a sign-up sheet for volunteering at the event. It needs to go back to Joetta Wick, but if you want to put your name on there and volunteer for a time, or you can email Joetta, this is what we need. We need volunteers. And that's it. I hope you all come.
Thank you all. All right, folks, foundation dinner is coming up. Warren, would you like to say something about foundation or Blaine? Blaine?
Foundation dinner, District 5180 Foundation.
Dinner is, of course, the 3rd of November, 6 p.m., Doubletree Hotel. Speaker is John Matthews, Rotary International Director for Zones 25 and 26, and Vice President. And a interesting guy. He's had 2 careers. One is a naval officer, and the other as an executive with Costco. So interesting. Of course, yes, you can find out where all the secret, really good bargains are. Entertainment, there'll be entertainment by Auburn Road, a singing group which is becoming quite popular. And the theme is holidays around the world. And last time I was here, we said there was holiday attire, which is true, but also cocktail attire. So if you want to dress like a martini, you can do that. Also, District 5180, courtesy of Glenn Vaughn, the Foundation Committee has pledged to match contributions Polio Plus received between 10/1 and 10/24. I'm just throwing that in for those of us who want to contribute to Polio Plus. That's a great way to really up the amount contributed to Polio Plus. So Warren is taking reservations. We are down to how many seats left? We have 6 seats left for our 2 tables, and we will also be working on decorating tables. We're supposed to decorate a table in the spirit of holidays around the world. So, now, see, I saved the worst for the last. It is indeed $75 a ticket. So, you have to dig deep. But it is certainly a worthwhile cause. Money goes to Polio Plus, and it should be a fun evening.
Blaine,
Yes.
will you be assigning people to those tables so they get together and plan a strategy for decorating and costuming?
We got to sell the tickets first, and then we can work on assigning people.
Okay, gotcha. All right, this is a moment. Sorry about that, Ray. Okay, this is the moment for shameless self-promotion. In my capacity as president-elect, as you know, I'll be going to the home of the club next year. I got a list of things from the upcoming district governor, Ray Ward, you may remember him, about things I needed to do between now and then. And as I looked at what he was recommending, I realized there are a lot of things that this club hasn't done. So I've taken it upon myself to kind of get some things moving forward. I thought I'd share them with you and try to see if we can generate a little excitement for them. We are going to put together, or charter, Rotary Club. And as you know, Rotary Club is kind of a bridge between Interact, which is for our high school students, and for Rotary clubs. Rotary appeals to people that are 18 to 30 years old. Generally, they'll join Rotary because they want to do some business networking. I have recently had a meeting with some other folks from the district office, and it looks like other clubs are also working on a Rotary Club. And so we're going to partner with them and see how many clubs we can squeeze out of our association. Something else that we're working on, and you heard last week from District Governor Jack Arney, his view about strategic planning. And I'd already started putting together some information for this club for strategic planning, and we're going to move forward with it. When I talked with Jack after the meeting, he said we ought not to be waiting on them because who knows when they'll get their strategic plan put together. So I'm looking for some volunteers that like the idea about strategic planning. I have a sign-up list up here if you want to do that. The strategic planning will involve, figuring out what is the vision statement for this club. Where do we want to be 3 to 5 years from now? Where are we now? We'll look at ways of getting there from point A to point B, the strategic plan, the tactical plan, what steps do we need to take. So it's going to be a pretty interesting situation. It will also involve a community assessment. I don't know that we've taken a look at Fair Oaks as a community and said, where do they need help? Where does Rotary want to put its effort, its money, and talent, and so forth? and making sure that we do, the most for the community, and that's why we're here. And then there will also be, I've asked Diana to consider doing a membership satisfaction survey. I'm not sure when we'll do that just yet, but those are the things that we're planning on doing. So as you sit out here and you're having your dinner and you're listening to meetings and whatnot, if you've ever said in the back of your mind, this club, it can be a lot better, or it can be a little better. Every good club can get better. If you've ever had that thought, would you consider signing up? I have the sheets right here. I'm looking for people who want to make the club better. And I know the talent's out there on the floor. So then we have Uncorked. I've been asked by the board to consider changing venues for Uncorked. The underlying belief is that St. Mel's Parish Hall is too small for our needs. Thank you, Fred. Yeah. Right now, with the ticket sales going the way they are, I'm having a real hard time wrapping my head around why we need a bigger venue if we're having trouble selling tickets. I had asked Fred the other day, as a matter of fact, why he thought ticket sales were tougher this year than they've been before, and his response was, who knows? And we talked about a couple other things, but that's what I've been tasked with. I'm going to try to get something going after Uncorked, and I think the first question that we'll probably have to address is, do we really need a bigger venue? So again, if any of this appeals to you, if you think you've got what it takes to make the club a little better, a lot better, if you've ever said, hey, this club's off the rails, this is for you, okay? Thank you. All right, other announcements. John Paul.
Up there on the stage is the box. So those after,
Hold on, John Paul.
After Uncorked, we'll start collecting the books that you may be thinking about. We need children's books, basically from 6th grade down, preschool, daycare type out there. And then our first donation here is actually from Dr. Mike McKibben from the Orange Book Club. He and his wife donated 300 books for us. And some of you others have already given me some bags and boxes of books, but we'll need a whole pile. So the Monday after Uncorked, you'll be getting the Spookathon and Halloween stuff coming at you all different ways. Yeah?
Do we have any books left from last year?
Yes, we have cases.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Nick, don't go too far.
So thank you, everybody. Following up from last week's introduction of the food bank solar panel project, of course, amazing things happened. So SMUD decided they were joining in, and they made a donation to pick up the $8,000 that the food bank was going to contribute. So, all right. Nice one. So I have last week's sign-up sheet with the grease on it from last week, so it's genuine. If you want to still join in, or you can't remember if you did sign up, I'm passing it around. So please sign up. Reminder, the safety training is the 15th, 2 Mondays' time. Okay, 5 o'clock here. I will remind you, but I'm just saying it now. So thank you very much. Oh, 19 people signed up, by the way. Last week, 19. So, thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Terry. Yes. Up and at 'em. We got leadership and ethics. Update on leadership and ethics.
Okay, so we have 5 more places for leadership mentoring. All you have to do is go to the Dante Club from 8 to 3 and sit in a room. All you have to do is go to the Dante Club from 8 to 3, sit in the room with a kid. There are 15 kids from Bella Vista. We need 15 adults to be mentors. I need 5 more. 5. That's it?
It's simple, guys. Do it. What's the date?
Oh, the date is November 6th.
No, 2nd.
No, yes, it is.
What's the date, Terry?
November 6th, from 8 to 3 at the Dante Club, wherever that is.
All right.
I was there last year along with a lot of the rest of you, it's all a group situation. It's big room, everybody, and then you break up into smaller groups. And we need one-on-one within the smaller groups of student and adult. Because there's some group activity, none of it's stressful, none of it's painful, and really, you just come with yourself ready to engage a bit with the students.
Yeah, what do they talk about?
You know,
I've been there, planned it.
What is Roy about this?
The whole conference focuses on leadership and ethics in the business world, and at the end, ultimately relates to the four-way test to being an ethical business leader. So honestly, what these high schoolers really need is somebody who listens. That's the best that you can do. I mean, sure, obviously we want people who have things to share, but let's face it, high schoolers get talked to all day, every day. And they really just need somebody to listen and answer questions and give some insight. So you are not the one, if you're a mentor, you are not the one even leading the conversation. There's a person in the room whose job it is to ask the questions and get people to talk and all that stuff. Like, you are literally participating just like the high schoolers are participating.
All right. On your table is a flyer from, well, they used to be called Blood Source and now called Vitalant. But this flyer was put out by the district offices, and we are partnering with Blood Source. They are sponsoring our district meeting, I guess, in May. Just by a show of hands, how many of you folks are not regular blood donors? Not regular blood donors? Keep your hands up and repeat after me. I, say your name, promise to call the number at the bottom of the sheet tomorrow and make an appointment. Please do this. This points out also that there is going to be financial money coming our way if we get one of four categories, which is highest percentage of club membership and most points attained for small, medium, and large clubs. So, you know, service above self, folks, and this is a good thing to do. If you can donate, please do. If you can't, talk somebody you know into it. Okay, and just make sure that when they give blood and they're asked about where they want their credits to go to, they say Rotary Club of Fair Oaks. All right.
One more announcement.
Hang on, I've got one for you. Karen, float. Mike, I'll get you.
Well, did Stud Boy go home?
Not necessarily. He might be in the village somewhere.
Well, Maggie's husband and our fearless little leader, Joe, on October the 27th, anybody with construction skills were pulling the float for the Christmas parade, the holiday parade, over to Joe's place, and all of you with construction skills are going to make a permanent float, a gingerbread house, so that we can unscrew it and put it back on and store it and never have a cheesy float again. So, I mean, we used to always win first prize because we were the only floats, but now we have competition, and I think we better make it look a little nicer. So, October 27th, at Joe's Cabinet Shop, if anybody's interested in building, and I know Jim Wilcox, and they can use your skills. And then Terry's going to be in charge of the painting, design, pretty part of it. So all you women who want to be part of the pretty part, it'll be after October 27th.
Thank you.
Mike, also on your table, this little brown flyer, the 21st annual Lion Real Estate Fair Oaks Chili Feed. If you want to see how you raise $25,000 in 3 hours, spend $7 and eat all the lunch you want. That's coming up November 7th. You can see me for tickets. And then, can I segue over to Mike?
Please do.
Parks and Recs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me out here today. Yes, I just wanted to let you know that you may have heard of Measure J. It's the park bond that will be on the ballot November 6th. I'm here basically to ask for help with our campaign. We've got a volunteer team on our campaign, and right now we're in the heart of it, which means phone calls and delivering flyers. If you can give an hour, half an hour, 15 minutes of any of your time to help us out, so that's great. We have a list of phone numbers with names and a script and everything that you would need to basically make a quick phone call and say, hey, please vote for Measure J. So if you're at all interested in helping us out, we could really use that kind of help. It is a valuable asset that we're asking for. It's a $26.9 million bond measure, and this is a wonderful facility. This is a good example of a well-kept-up facility, but one that needs some work in terms of HVAC and plumbing and electrical and all kinds of things. It's clean, it's kept up, but we need those kinds of assistance. So if you're at all interested, I will be here through the meeting. I've got a sign-up sheet you can check with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Audio lead. And
oh, thank you. I was hoping I was on the announcements. We're going to do like we did last week. For those of you, or last year rather, those of you who were here last week, I mentioned it's Restaurant Week. Okay, so it's a whole week of not having to cook, of frequenting some of the different restaurants in Fair Oaks. What I need is 2 people. That's it. So between the 2 of you and me, we can find the 7 restaurants. Alice already found one, so, and all they have to do is to say, okay, we'll take this night and we'll donate X amount of money, percentage. Maybe last year, the group hub said, they come in, we're just going to give you a check for whatever it was they gave last year. So it's not hard to, if you're one of the 2 people. But I really need you to help me out with it right away, because I leave Wednesday for Chicago, and by the time I get back, I'm here 1 day, and then I leave for Anaheim, and then when I come back, I have 1 day, and it starts October 17th, so I've not got a lot of days. So if any of you are at all interested, it's very simple, and most of the restaurants are very open to doing that, okay? And we'll have a flyer to put in their window that they are helping us, and we of course will let everyone here know through the Acorn that encourage people to go to their restaurants. Okay?
thank you, Ann. All right. Maggie, what's up?
So if you have nothing to do on Thursday and you want to see Charlie dance, this would be a good way to support her. Del Campo High School.
Thank you, Maggie. All right. All right, we'll try it again one more time for Clary. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I have the pleasure of inducting 2 new members into Rotary Club of Fair Oaks, the finest Rotary Club in the known world and universe. Diana, did you have your inductees, mentors, sponsors, please come up here.
Yes, okay, Kira. I would like to invite Diane Cheesebro, and her sponsor is Bruce Vincent, who is not here tonight, so I'm standing in for him, and her mentor, Jerry Beck. And I'd like to invite Robin Gostovich, and her sponsor is Ray Ward, and her mentor is Jerry Wright.
Why don't we move down just a little bit?
Can we get,
You know,
would you like to do this, something? Can we cover that there? Thank you.
I just got this script the other day, and my mind's too bogged down to try to memorize the whole thing. Let me just say this, that on behalf of the Rotary Club of Fair Oaks, we're very happy to have you join us this evening. And as I said, get inducted into it as a very fine Rotary Club. We hope that it's rewarding for you. This is your new family, by the way. This is your Rotary family. They will support you when you need support. They will cheer you on when you need cheering. I would ask, I'm going to do this in alphabetical order so there's no misunderstanding. Diane, Could you tell the club a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Diane Cheesebrough, and I'm a veterinarian, so that's my profession. I got interested in Rotary. I met Diana and James and Bruce at the Music in the Park, and they were just such great people, and I liked the whole idea of giving service back. And then I met the dancers. I love to dance, and so I realized how much fun the group was too, so I just thought it was a great organization for me. Hobbies, I do, I cycle, I ski, I kayak, and I dance. Great. You don't want my whole history of schooling knows me too much. I went to school a long time.
Thank you.
All right. I'm Robin Gostovich. My mom, Bobby Gostovich and Dave Gostovich are here to support me tonight. I'm a fourth-generation Rotarian now, which I'm totally proud of. My great-grandfather, my father, now me. I have two beautiful daughters. I went to school at Sac State. I worked for the state of California as a human resources executive. Gladly retired now, and my passion is working with an international dog rescue group.
All right, at this point in time, your mentors will pin your badge and your red ribbon on you. So go ahead, ladies, and take care of that. All right, almost there. Okay. It's a magnet, it's okay. All right, and Diana has some things to give you.
First, we want to pin them. The sponsors should pin them. No, with their rotary pin.
Rotary pin.
Okay, so sponsor, you already put that.
All right. Your certificate and your membership kit. There's great reading. There'll be a test next meeting. All right. All right. Apparently, we have one additional question to ask you. This is what I'll read. Are you ready to get involved with Rotary? And are you willing to help us share the Rotary experience by bringing in new potential members of the same quality and caliber as yourself? Very nice. Then welcome to the Rotary Club of Fair Oaks. You are now the newest Rotarians of our club. Ladies and gentlemen, the newest Rotarians of our club. Mike, can you grab a basket? Thank you. We're going to pass the hat for these ladies. If you could generate generously, then we'll get them into the foundation. All right, it's time for our drawings. Oh, okay. What are you waving $1 at me for?
It's a 5.
Okay, sorry. Okay, we're drawing for free dinner. So who wants to, Bill, come on up. Yes, Bill, come on. All you need to do is draw a ticket. Okay.
Mike.
We have a blue ticket, 989993. Going once? Going twice, anyone?
Okay, we'll do it again.
All right, I told you I'd mess it up. Okay, again, now we have 990019.
Good luck, Fred.
Oh, don't mess the hair. Now you're in trouble.
There you go. Congratulations, Fred. Yeah. I'll put it back in.
That was quick.
Okay, next drawing is for the ace of spades. Today's pot is $250. Let's see if I can remember how this goes. If you're a member, you get the whole thing. If you're not a member, you get half.
Yep.
If you get what was it? Spade, Joker, pay 10. Whatever. Yeah, you know, but I've never won it, so it doesn't matter to me. All right, here we go. 989, 980. Joe Shiner, you don't need the money. Come on up.
Okay, the last time I did this, I had to pay. I had to pay $10. So let's see what happens this time. 5 of spades.
What's he get?
It's a spade,
All
so
right.
does he get something?
Spade?
What's he get for a spade? All right. It's time for Little Genius back by popular demand for one last encore performance, Mike Maddox.
I only have 3 minutes, so I think it's going to be happy finds only. Any happy finds? Please raise your hand if you have a happy find. Yeah. Karen, Dr. Karen.
He wasn't here for introductions, but we have another visiting Rotarian, Bill Bowen. He is an attorney, but we forgive him for that. And he was driving up Sunrise and decided to stop in and spend the evening with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Dr. Cliff. Dr. Cliff.
I'm going to be a happy find for a wonderful trip to New York City with Angela.
Ooh, nice. Diana Crowley.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to be a happy find because Spencer went for an interview with Amazon and he's starting work next in 2 weeks. But he'll still be able to set up on Monday nights.
Great. Ann Brownie.
Well, my daughter, who just turned 40 on the 27th, instead of having a party and having drinks and things, decided to swim from Alcatraz to the St. Francis Yacht Club. This is the one who just had the triplets in January.
Wow. Ray Ward.
So I just want to talk a little bit about being persistent. After 9-10 years, Robin finally joined our club.
Dr. Fred. Last Tuesday, Alice and I picked up our visas to go to China, and after we did that, we went down and met our sons at Google, where one of them works, and had lunch with them at Google. And that's a $1 happy find and a $2 happy find because they stayed down in the Bay Area. Anybody else? Joe.
Well, I've got a find. Last week I forgot to mention that my youngest daughter, you all know Jessica, competed in some weightlifting and qualified for the nationals in deadlifting.
Wow.
I want to welcome Robin and Diane to the club. Where'd Diane go? Around. There she is. And also, my neighbors, Robin's parents, live around the corner from me. So it's good to have you here visiting tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else? Going once? Going, nope. Neil.
I want to be thankful to landlords that decide to sell their property, because when they do, then their tenants have to move out, and my son and his wife and their 2-year-old are now living with us. So.
Okay. Let's hear it. What is that? Prop 10, I think it is. Prop 10. For rent control. Okay. That's it? No more happy finds? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. All right. Tonight's speaker is Paul Helliker of the San Juan Water District. Paul has just recently returned to our area. He is the general manager and CEO of San Juan Water District. He previously was at up in Eureka, one of my old stomping grounds in my college days. Probably why I ended up in the service, but never mind. He's here tonight with his wife Stacy, who's a nurse practitioner, and they've been married for 4 months. I give you Paul Helliker.
Thanks very much, Dennis. And here it is. So it's a pleasure to be back in the Sacramento area, especially because of my lovely wife here. But she was a longtime resident of Fair Oaks, raised her kids here in this neighborhood, so knows it and loves it. So thanks for the opportunity to come and talk with you tonight. I've been at the Water District now for about 1.5 years, and it's been fun working there and getting to know Pete while he was briefly on the Fair Oaks Water District Board. Bob Walters was a longtime member here. He was one of the members of the board at San Juan who hired me, and then of course Misha Sarkovich is one of your members. So we have a lot of participants in your club. So to start with, if you're interested in ancient history, 150 years ago, San Juan had its beginnings with a company that was serving miners, and they originally oh, here we go. The first facilities that were built by the company, which was called the North Fork Ditch Company, American River Water and Mining Company became the North Fork Ditch Company, was a small dam up here by Auburn and a 33-mile canal that came all the way down from Tamaroo Bar to Mississippi Bar, and that's a picture of the canal there and some of the folks who helped build it. So we have some of the oldest water rights in the state, which is good for our water supply reliability, and we hope we'll continue to serve you with those for a long time to come. San Juan itself was created back in 1954, about the time when the Bureau of Reclamation was building Folsom Dam, and the local residents decided that they wanted a little more reliability than a private company. So they came together, put a ballot measure on the ballot in Sacramento and Placer counties, and it passed by 66% of the electorate at the time, issued some bonds, and then reached agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation for delivery of the water right water that San Juan Water District, the North Fork Ditch Company, had dating back to the mining days for 33,000 acre feet. We engineers, we don't like a lot of zeros after our numbers. So we have million gallons per day, we have cubic feet per second, we have acre feet per year. An acre foot is about 1/3 of a million gallons. So we have 10.8 billion gallons of water that's delivered through Folsom Dam by the Bureau of Reclamation for our 1854 vintage water right. What we cover is, we have a retail area, which is one of our customers here, hopefully a happy customer, for the Granite Bay area and a bit of Folsom. And then we also sell water to the city of Folsom for the area that's north of the river, Fair Oaks Water District for your local water district, and Citrus Heights Water District. So altogether we have about 150,000 people in our service area. And we also treat and deliver water from Folsom Lake to Sacramento Suburban Water District, which is the neighboring water district here. So they're connected to a large pipeline that we operate. And so altogether we serve over 300,000 people directly with water from Folsom Lake. And we have about 46 staff, a $31.2 million operating budget annually. About $10 million of that is the capital budget. And we have a regional asset here. We have a 150 million gallon per day water treatment plant that serves water to all of you and to all of those regional customers. We also have a large storage facility right next to our office, 66 million gallons of storage, 217 miles of pipeline, and 38 pump stations. So a fairly significant amount of infrastructure that we have in place. In the Sacramento area, there are 27 different water agencies, which seems like a lot to deliver water to 2 million people or so. And a lot of those come with their own history. Fair Oaks Water District, for example, was established back in the early 1900s. Citrus Heights was as well. Back in those days, it was mostly to deliver irrigation water to citrus groves in the area. And those now, of course, are houses, but those water districts still are in existence. Carmichael Water District is next door as well to Fair Oaks Water District. City of Sacramento. Upstream, we have Placer County Water Agencies. So those are some of our partners that we deal with. There are a few water agencies that take water from the river, from Folsom Reservoir down to Sacramento. And a couple of our close neighbors I'll talk about here in a second with Folsom and Roseville. So we have, on paper at least, a pretty good water supply. We have the water right that I mentioned, dating from back to 1854. We also buy water from the Bureau of Reclamation, 24,000 acre-feet. And then Placer County Water Agency, from their reservoirs upstream of Folsom, they sell us water as well. So it's a pretty diversified portfolio. It all comes through Folsom Lake and through a single pipeline in the dam. But we have a treatment plant, and that orange thing is our storage facility, the 62 million gallon storage tank. And then the City of Roseville operates their treatment plant. They're pretty close by. And then Folsom. So we all have water that comes through a pipeline in the dam. And it's a little hard to see, but it comes right there, and then this line right here is the pipe that goes over to our treatment plant and over to Roseville, and then there's one that goes back through the dam and then comes down this way that goes to Folsom. So we're all connected at the hip. Anything that happens in the lake can affect all of us. If the levels drop and our pipeline gets exposed, then we're all out of water for 500,000 people. So we try to avoid that at all costs. This is a shot of our facilities. This is our treatment plant, and then this actually used to be an open reservoir. It was called the Hinkle Reservoir, named after the Hinkle family that used to own this property. Back in the 70s, the state health department said, you can't have an open reservoir for drinking water. You have to cover it so that birds and other things don't get into it. So it's a flexible liner, and we're going to be replacing that soon. It's reached the end of its useful life. But it's still working well, but it's about time to make sure that it continues to serve our customers. So Folsom Reservoir is interesting. It's primarily a flood control reservoir. It's also a water supply reservoir, and it's hard to balance those things because for flood control you want to have an empty reservoir. For water supply you want to have a full reservoir. So the Corps of Engineers operates it during the wintertime, and this is the curve that they try to meet with the water level in the reservoir. So between December and February, they try to keep it about 2/3 empty. And then starting in March, they let the water level rise up so that by May, it can be up at the full reservoir elevation. And this project, go back a couple slides, they just built a new spillway. For those of you who've been following the Oroville saga, the good news is that the spillway for Folsom Dam is concrete, it's not dirt. So it doesn't face the risk that they did at Oroville. But they've added another spillway over here, and this is called the Joint Federal Project. And what that spillway does is it lets water out at a lower elevation, and it also provides this extra delivery capacity here so that the Bureau of Reclamation and the Corps of Engineers don't face the prospect of having a reservoir that is too full for the flood flows that might be coming down. So they can release a lot of water out of the spillway and out of the dam and empty the reservoir fairly quickly. So the good news there is that if we have a winter where it's not raining and snowing a lot, they can keep the reservoir higher so that if it doesn't turn out to be a very wet winter, you don't lose that water just because of their previous historical curves, which were pretty much, if it's December, this is where the reservoir needs to be. So now they can look out with the meteorology and say, what is the next month or so, next week or so hold in store, and can we keep more water in the reservoir, or do we need to run it out? So, and this is the reservoir storage for Folsom Reservoir. This is down about 300, it can hold up to 1 million acre-feet. So this is about 300,000 acre-feet, a third full, and then this is full. So you can see this is the winter of 2017. It filled up about halfway, then they had to let it out, and then it came, these were a series of storms, atmospheric rivers that came through our area. So every time water would flow into the reservoir, and then they'd have to drop it down to the flood curve that they try to meet. And then finally, this is in March, they let the reservoir rise. So it's different. At Oroville, for example, only about 10% of its storage is used for flood control. Shasta, about 30%. But Folsom, 60% of it is used for flood control. And that's because Sacramento used to be the second most at-risk city in the country for flooding. New Orleans was first. And then Katrina happened, and after Katrina came through, they rebuilt a lot of the levees in New Orleans. So now Sacramento has the distinction of being the most flood-threatened city in the country. So Folsom is an important part of that control. They've also been rebuilding the levees along the American River, but it's something that they have to worry about. Now, we of course worry about this situation when there is a lot of storage space, some of which we don't really want there, but this was 2015 when Folsom Reservoir reached the lowest level ever. It reached a point where over here, this is our intake. So what these are shutters that allow the reservoir operators to take water at different levels of the reservoir for running through the power plant, so that in the summertime, when the cold water is at the bottom of the reservoir, to keep the river cool for the steelhead and other species that like colder temperatures, they take water down at the bottom. They do the opposite for us. So for our urban water supply, it doesn't really matter that it's cold. So we take water at the top of the reservoir. But both of these were pretty close to being dry back in 2015. And what that was going to mean is that we'd be out of water. If you were here then, you might have heard about the barge that they were going to put some pumps on to bring water into the pipeline to come over to our service area. We also, at the same time, were looking at some other emergency operations. Fair Oaks has some groundwater wells, Citrus Heights has groundwater wells, and so we were going to ask them to produce as much as possible from those groundwater wells to see if we could reduce the amount of water that we need from the reservoir, even though we have historic water rights that have first priority over anybody else that wants to take water from the reservoir. So some of our issues we're dealing with, I'll run through these quickly and then we can get to some questions if people have any. Drought reliability, that's always important for us, for Folsom, for Roseville, because we all take water from the pipeline, and if the water drops below that level, and that level is equivalent to about 10% of the storage of the reservoir. So in 2015, we came very close to hitting that level. So we worry about drought reliability. And the Bureau of Reclamation operates Folsom Reservoir in conjunction with Shasta and the state project of Oroville, so they have to balance all the competing needs. And the thing about Folsom is that it typically fills every year, even with low amounts of rainfall, because it's a small reservoir on a large watershed. Oroville and Shasta both are a little different. They're big reservoirs on watersheds that don't produce a lot compared to the storage. So Folsom is used as the workhorse of the system. Climate change, we're going to see less snow and more rain. The snowpack, interestingly, whenever there's a normal snowpack on the Sierra Nevada, there's about as much storage in that snow as there is in all the reservoirs up and down the mountains. And so what that does is it lets the water trickle down over the course of the spring and the summer. But if we don't have snow, if we still get the same amount of precipitation, we're not going to have any place to store it because all the reservoirs will be full. So we're going to be looking at, over the next 50 years, how to deal with that situation for the whole state, because we've got a system that was built to match certain climatological characteristics, and we'll have to figure out what to do. There's not many more places to build dams in the state, but groundwater may be an option to store more water there. We have about 80,000 acre-feet of water available. We don't use all of that, so we have some that we could transfer, so that's one of the things we're working on. For those of you who've been following the Delta Tunnels project, in our neighborhood in Sacramento, we have a lot of Stop the Tunnels signs around. I don't know if those have actually populated up here, but that's a project to come up with a way to move water around or under the delta so that it doesn't have so the operations don't have impacts on fish in the delta, and also it gives the ability to move water when there's a lot of rain, instead of waiting until there's water available from the reservoirs. Another thing that's coming up is the state water board has decided that they want to have more flow down the rivers and out the delta. So that's going to have a potential impact on our storage in Folsom Reservoir, storage in other reservoirs. So it's something that we're in the middle of working on with all of our water agency colleagues around the Sacramento Valley and the San Joaquin Valley. And then most recently, you may have been hearing or seeing in the paper about how you're not going to be able to take a shower when the new conservation standards come into effect, because you're going to be limited to 55 gallons per person per day indoors. You will be able to take a shower and do your laundry. So that's just a planning number, but the new legislation does set us on a path to something that's probably not as stringent as we had in 2015. Those were drought conditions. The water board told us we had to cut back by 36% in San Juan's area, for example. I think it was less here, but they are going to come up with some new standards that try to factor in what's an efficient way of using water and amount in indoors and outdoors. The good news is we're not going to be subject to some arbitrary percent reduction requirements, but we will be looking at some standards that will be based upon what your vegetation's like, how much of your property is irrigated, irrigable, and what the weather conditions are like. So since it's hotter here, we'll get more of a water allocation, but not more than what would be an efficient amount. So these are some of the regulatory and planning issues. We work closely with Fair Oaks Water District. We do a lot of the work to represent all of the agencies that we sell water to on these issues that are regional and statewide. So I spend a lot of my time working on legislation and regulatory issues. So some specific projects we've got at our treatment plant and our district. This treatment plant was built back in the 70s, so it's now 40-something years old, and we had some things we had to do to improve it so that we could keep delivering water to you. It's actually a fairly small treatment plant for the amount of water that we put through it, but there's not a lot of room on our site. The wing dam for Folsom Reservoir is right here, and then Auburn-Folsom Boulevard is right here. So we try to use this space as efficiently as possible. So one of the things that we needed to do, though, it's a little hard to see in this slide, but we had these old paddle wheels that were rusting, and the drives that drove them were falling apart. So we had to completely renovate all of the basins where we mix the chemicals in. So the way we treat water is we add chemicals to get the dirt into clumps, and then we put it into a sedimentation basin, and those all drop out, and then we run it through a filter. And that cleans the water. It's pretty clean coming into Lake Folsom, but that gets rid of all of the pathogens and other things that you don't want in your water. So we spent $6 million on that. It's about 2 years worth of our capital budget. So completed that project early this year. This is a slide that I need to update, obviously, but we did finish that this year. And then, like I mentioned, this reservoir, we're going to have to replace the liner and the cover, and we're planning on that in 2021. And that's going to be a $23 million project. So it's multiple years of our budget. We're going to have to borrow some money to be able to pay for that. But we do have a financial plan. The green here, oops, go back, sorry. The green here is the expenditures for our capital program. You can see our reserves dropped as we spent the money on the treatment plant, so we have to try to keep those reserves from dropping too much more. Here's where we're going to borrow some money. This is the debt band. So this shows our overall wholesale operating budget and our capital budget. We've got a 5-year financial plan. Because of the fact that we're trying to catch up with some of our capital expenses, we're seeing some rate increases over time, so Fair Oaks is dealing with that. But we're in pretty good shape financially and plan to be so into the future. So thanks for the opportunity, and if anybody wants to make any comments or ask any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I toured the Sacramento treatment plant a couple of years ago. It was fascinating. Do you guys, is that ever an opportunity to tour the treatment plant up there?
You know, we used to offer tours, but because of 9/11, I don't know when you went to Sacramento, but now we have security measures that we have to keep in place. And the other thing is our treatment plant is not ADA accessible. And so if we make facilities available to the public, we have to spend the money to put an elevator in and all that stuff, which we're looking at doing. But for the moment, no, all you can do is come and stand on the dam and look down at our treatment plant. I can tell you what we do, where we do it. We also have a very nice water efficient landscape garden from which you can see most of the treatment plant. So, and you can walk through that anytime you want. Yes, ma'am.
Since we moved to Fair Oaks almost 20 years ago, it has seemed a conflict of interest to me that San Juan is both a wholesale distributor as well as a retail. What could you say to that?
Why would you think it would be a conflict of interest?
In pricing and supply decisions?
Oh, so we have two operations that we run. We have the wholesale operation, which is the treatment plant and our distribution system. And so we keep our budget and our books for the wholesale system separate from the retail system. So our retail agency is just like Fair Oaks Water District. We sell water to our retail agency, we sell water to ourselves, but we have to account for it separately. And so we charge the same rate to the San Juan retail agency that we charge to the Fair Oaks Water District. So all of our retail agency customers pay the same price for water. So we don't discriminate any among them at all. And why it was set up that way, I think partly because back in the 1950s, the residents of the area wanted to make sure that there was a public agency that managed their water rights and their water supplies. And so that's when San Juan was created. At the time, the Placer County area that we served was not incorporated, was not served by a water district. So it made sense to go ahead and create a water district and incorporate it into San Juan. So I think we operate normally pretty well. We, all of our retail customers, and we collaborate fairly closely. Yes, sir.
How's it going? So because the Delta tunnels are kind of a hot topic, what are some of the misconceptions with those?
Well, the biggest misconception is that Los Angeles is going to steal all our water. So the way the tunnels will operate, there will be very stringent regulations on how they operate. Whenever the flow is low in the Sacramento River, there's only a certain amount they can take, and it's a small percentage of the flow in the river. They're designed primarily to move water when there's a high flow in the river, when there's so much water that even anybody that wants to use water can get their needs met, and there's extra water. So that's the whole point of the system. I used to work for the Department of Water Resources, and one of my responsibilities was the tunnels project. So I graduated from that job. And one of the things that I used to hear from Charles Bonham, who's the director of the Department of Fish and Game, is that since the 1960s, the Department of Fish and Game has had a high priority on changing the way that we manage water in the Delta. Because right now, water flows down from the Sacramento River. It's pumped from the south end of the Delta, and to get there, it has to flow through the Delta, which means that it flows uphill or upstream in parts of the Delta. So the fish get confused by that, and it has an impact on fisheries resources in the Delta because it pulls smelts and other fish down to the pumps. So if you take the intake instead of having it at the south end of the Delta and you move it to the north end of the Delta where there's a lot of flow, you don't have those impacts. So it's got some benefits. Also, the islands in the Delta are, a lot of them are 20 to 30 feet below sea level, and the levees are not in great shape. And so if we do have an earthquake, sea level rise, all the factors that are coming into play, if those levees fail and the water rushes in from the bay, the Delta is going to be a saline body, and it will be useless for water supply, and 2.3 million people, 23 million people rely on it for water supply.
Thank you.
So tangential to that, I thought part of the argument about the twin tunnels was protecting the Delta. If you take water from above, how does that, and that
the seawater to come further up, how does that help the delta? And I think they did approve a catchment basin further up north here to retain water. I don't know how many years it'd be out, but they have approved it.
Well, on the last point, you may be talking about the different reservoir projects that were just funded with Prop 1 funding. Sykes Reservoir is a reservoir in the Sacramento Valley, and it did get funding, and so it's probably going to go ahead as soon as they get their permitting done. So the tunnels are not designed to take more water, they're actually designed to take water at a different time. So right now, the water that goes to the pumps goes there all year long, and in the summertime, historically, the delta used to have fluctuating salinity. And one of the problems we have in the delta, this is one of the many stressors for why the salmon are not doing well, is there are invasive species. There are clams that were brought over from China, and those seem to be doing well in the current conditions, which is mostly fresh water. So if there's more saline water that comes in and out, hopefully it might affect the clams.
With your expertise, what do you think the real motivation, short and long term, is for the LA Water District that's buying those islands in the Delta, or has purchased them? What's the practical use of those islands, and how could it influence or affect us?
So the Metropolitan Water District, the major wholesaler that serves Southern California, bought a couple of islands in the Delta, and for a couple of reasons. They bought one island, which is one of the places where the boring machines will go down and go out. And so that's where some of the material, the mud and the silt, will be brought up and stored. So they were going to have to use some sort of mechanism. They were going to have to buy the land from the owners anyway to be able to use it for that function. So Metropolitan Water District went ahead and bought that one island. I think that's Bolden Island. And then they bought another island because if they buy Bolden Island and use it for that purpose, then they have to mitigate that. And so they bought another island to restore wetland habitat in to mitigate for Bolden Island. So it's going to be a net benefit to the Delta.
You don't see any plan S in the plan.
Well, it's tied to the tunnels project. So if you think the tunnels project is a bad idea, then probably buying the islands would be a bad idea. But that's the purpose of doing so.
Okay. One more question?
It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so it's a timely topic, right?
I'm going to give a simplified example because I'm interested in the idea behind how you're going to enforce the water limits. You know, the 55 gallon per household, indoor use and outdoor use. If there's a water, so-called water waster, a consumer that just doesn't want to comply, there's two ways to handle it. Here's the simplification. I know there's more than two ways. You can make it like cell phone overage. You can charge them, $10 per 100 acre feet or $100 for every 100 acre feet cubic feet that they go over in a given month. That's the punitive approach. Or you can just have tiered rates that are, that pay for the increments you're over. It will charge you 20% more than for the increments that were within the limit. Which way do you intend to go?
Well, at this point, we don't plan to take any enforcement measures at all because, first of all, the new standards that the State Water Board is going to be developing won't become, they won't adopt them until 2022. We don't then have to do anything with them until 2023 when we convert their standards into what our overall usage target is going to be, and that's by water agency. It's not by individual household. It will be a summation of all of the use within that water agency. And then we have until 2027 to meet those numbers or face fines ourselves. So we have a decade before we have to worry about how we're going to ask our customers to meet those standards. And so we'll be doing a lot of work to make sure those standards are achievable. I frankly think that, and we haven't done the calculation yet, but one thing we will be doing is we'll be getting our aerial survey of our service area, and Fair Oaks will have their own data to look at each property to see how much space that property has that's irrigated, and then we'll calculate, we'll sum all of that up, and then we'll calculate what the water amount that should be used on those is based upon the meteorology. And I'm expecting that we will be easily meet the target. Now that's my prognosis, and a few years from now I'll be willing to wager some money on that, but at this moment I can't say decisively, but I think given our experience that we went through in 2015 when everybody here did a great job of saving water, and demand has not come back up to where it was back in the mid-2000s. And so I think we're in pretty good shape. But we'll know more by 2022 when we see what the standards are, and maybe I'll come back and talk to you then.
Thank you very much. I have a speaker here I'd like to give you. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Oh, Helliker, please. One brief announcement before I announce the next thing. Next Wednesday, the 10th of October, Smoky Oaks Tavern, our very own Pete Schroeder will be playing. Next Wednesday, be there. Next week, we are dark. Very dark. So don't be here. No meeting, yes, don't come. And on that note, folks, good night. Safe going home. We're adjourned.